That question is so loaded, John. I don't even know where to start with that question. I guess the problem is, and by the way, John, I love that question.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. This is an interesting topic.
What's the solution here?
Show up, understand your part, and just crush it.
Pay-per-click, social media, we can talk about all this stuff, but what really matters is patient experience, that wow factor.
Startup Uncensored, the questions you have with the truths you need to hear. Now your hosts, Michael Dinsio and John Bertagni.
All right. Welcome. Startup Uncensored, starting another episode this week. I'm pretty excited about this one because it's kind of like that silent killer where not a ton of people talk about it, but it's super, super important to the project because dental folks are so tech these days with the equipment and everything they do. And you need a pro that's going to help you walk through that whole process. And we've got the best of the best, but I'll first hand this off to John. John, good to see you, friend.
Good to see you. It's nice to be seen. And
It is.
I don't have a green screen this week, but it's actually okay. I feel all right.
You know, you pull it off, buddy. I know that guitar. I see that guitar in the background. We might have to pull that out this episode.
No, I think that's going to be truncated off. We're okay. It's perfect.
Well, but I can see it is the point. I can see it. So we might pull that out.
Oh man. Well, I agree. This is a huge foundational piece, computers, networking, infrastructure, as I like to call it. And we've got Ian Lynch from Legend Networking and one of the absolute best across the country. What's cool about him, his team and he himself, they can monitor your practice no matter where you are, which is crazy to think about. Everyone thinks you need that person right there that they can come and fix things. They have the technology that they're able to get right in there and take care of you no matter where you are. So Ian, thanks, buddy. It's been a long time coming, but here we are.
Here we are, guys. Michael, John, thank you guys so much for having me on here. I feel very honored and blessed. Do I get a green screen or do I get my own background? Or
dude, right now we're in Los Angeles and some rave party going on. So why would we ever need a green screen for you?
You know what? Yeah. Put me in Paris. If we get to choose, I'd rather be in Paris.
Hey, LA, right above your head. I can see
there it is, LA, baby.
I can see it.
It is. Yeah, I'm honored to be on here, guys. My name is Ian, owner operator of Legend Networking. We are a dental integrator, so we're basically the feet on the ground when it comes to your new startups or your existing practices. We pretty much facilitate all your infrastructure, computer servers, software implementation, imaging implementation. We work with all the vendors, whoever they are. We're pretty much the feet on the ground, guys. We're probably last on the list to get in there and get stuff done and get you guys up and running. So audio, video, security, surveillance, your ongoing support. We have a 12,000 square foot facility here in Dallas, Texas, where we house over 60 help desk technicians. What does that look like? Well, after the fact, after you guys are done and you're built out and you have issues, whether it's, hey, I got a new assistant, I need an email set up for them, or hey guys, I can't connect remotely, it's a snow day and I need to get in and start rebooking my patients. We are your end all. So big things we pride ourselves on, guys, is we don't do callbacks. In this industry, you're going to have a lot of your computer tech vendors, and you call them and they'll be on the phone with you as they're driving down the street. We've built the infrastructure to facilitate making sure that we take care of you because we know what your production means to you.
Gotcha. I love that, man. I mean, you're bringing up all the points from operating a dental practice that means something to the operator. I always used to say, and even in my world of, equipment, and even when I was an owner of those dental practices, it was more so about how do I make sure I have uptime? And that uptime is not only chair time, but it's uptime in terms of internet, infrastructure, of computers, etc. So it's always about uptime because we want our viewership and listeners, we want them to achieve $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a chair. I mean, that's right. What we want. I mean, and that's the reality, dude. Like that can be done, but if you don't have internet to op6, you can't do it, dude.
Well, John, I'm going to take it to that next level because that's exactly what we think about is next level. We know what your production means to you, right? Hence next level. So we know what your production means to you. So we've even implemented processes for your backup and disaster recovery. So in the event, like say there is last week we experienced a huge storm blow through Texas, taking out power to hundreds of thousands of houses and businesses across Texas, right? And what we've implemented over the course of the past, say, 3 or 4 years into our service plan is your on-site and your off-site backups. So in the event you guys lose power, we could spin up a virtual instance of your data inside the cloud, give one person login credentials. Think about this. All the practices in Texas were closed for an entire week. So you don't have access to your server because there's no electricity there. So we could spin a virtual instance of your server, give you login credentials. Guess what you could do from home where you do have power? You can call every patient, reschedule them, say, hey, we're shut down for the entire week. Come Monday, we would like to see you. Can I rebook your appointment?
Well, let me ask you a question, dude. Like on that same point, let's go off of that because obviously you have solutions for every single thing and they're amazing, right? We know that. But I want to go into some things that are happening in terms of this timestamp where we are in the United States. Let's call it COVID, pandemic, things like that, but also where telemedicine is coming into play. My son just had his appendix out. His pediatrician diagnosed it over the phone with my hands and his hands, right? Then we went to the hospital, got an x-ray, and then he went to surgery. It was crazy. My question is, what sort of infrastructure are you putting into place for these doctors? And what's the best solution for these people going to telemedicine, right? Because I think that's a differentiator right now.
Absolutely.
Where do you see this going, man?
Well, you definitely have to have access to your data no matter where you are, no matter what happens. Obviously, COVID, storms. I mean, life happens. And what the important ingredient is to have a good IT staff that could get you access to your data or your office manager access to your data. So we set up remote access for all of our users through a secured VPN router.
Yep. And
so that way they can have a point-to-point connection without jeopardizing the security of their patient's data. So awesome. that is an automatic. If you're going to jump on our managed services, which means we're going to manage your practice, you have to have the security protocols behind what we do. We won't take anybody unless they physically have our hardware and our software implemented. So that way we can monitor their office. That way we can make sure they have their data when they need it.
Yeah, because it's not about you. It's not about you selling them a computer. I mean, that's a commodity. You're not making money on a computer. Let's be frank here, correct?
The last thing I ever want to be stamped at is a computer company. We're a consulting company on the technology side. I have so many doctors that are in the new startup. Realistically, on any given month, we're building between 20 and 35 new practices. What does that look like? That's huge, right? Like most dental integrators probably aren't doing as much volume because we've got it down to a science. The computers and all the peripherals, we don't make a lot of money. Truth be told, it's going to be Googleable. You can Google any product. You can find out where the margins are. It's not where our play is. Our play is the service side.
Okay, hold on a second. Hang on a second. You guys are getting all virtual, all crazy.
Welcome, Mike. Welcome.
Hi. Oh, hi.
Well, there he is.
Oh, hi, guys. You guys are talking about HIPAA and security and remote login. Guys, this is a Startup Uncensored program. Can we talk about some of the freaking basics? We just came off of construction. Can we talk about box walks? Can we talk about actual computer buying from Best Buy? Like, come on. What are we doing here today?
Absolutely. Let's dig into that. Let's see exactly what that looks like. So you guys y'all finished with your construction. You've got your equipment. You got everything lined up. Where Legend comes in is we're going to look at your floor plan. We're going to do a consult with you guys via virtual consult. We're going to have your floor plan pulled up in front of it, and then we're going to start going through our facet of our Q&As to drill down exactly what it is that you need. We're not
boom.
Yeah, boom, exactly. We want to know exactly what you want And then what we're going to do is we're going to consult you to tell you the best practices. Some doctors are like, I want, the most high-tech equipment. And then, I definitely want to deliver everything that it is that they want. But at the same time, I want to make them mindful of, hey, you're a brand new startup. Do you want the headache of controlling your own technology, or do you want to put it on autopilot? Let us monitor it. Let us do it. But my job is to make sure I take care of the doctors. At the end of the day, that's why I started Legend. It became a passion after consulting with hundreds of doctors, because they were, truth be told, since we're uncensored, they were getting screwed everywhere.
Yeah.
Like when you're a new startup, there are sharks in the water. Let's be realistic. They're everywhere.
We just came off of Shark Week. I mean, the Shark Week. All right. Ian, let's get to the easiest, quickest question.
Sure.
Server, cloud, go.
Okay.
What do you do these days? Everybody's talking about practice management software and this, that, and Dentrix Ascend, and which I'm not really, I'm not buying into. But Open Dental, like, what's every single time I talk to a startup, they're talking about, I just want to log in and see my stuff from my house. I'm like, that's not cloud. That's technology that you could see your stuff from your house. Like, that's not cloud. So let's talk about that.
Whether you have your server at the office or quote unquote in the cloud, which is, sitting in a colo location, a secure location, it's all the same thing. But if you're asking what I'm seeing in the market as we open up these many offices, I still see a lot of on-premise servers. And the reason being is because there's so many variables going with a strictly cloud-hosted solution. One is going to be your internet speed, the consistency, electricity, the list goes on and on and on. Over time, you're going to see less and less of the on-premise servers, and you're going to see a lot more cloud-hosted solutions. Is the infrastructure there? Yes, in a perfect world, there's going to be no downtime on the internet. There's going to be no electricity outages in a perfect world, but we all know that doesn't happen. So if you want true access to your data, I believe for right now, and this is just right now, I believe that the on-premise is, we build out 35 offices. Pretty consistently we see out of the majority of them, 99% of them are still going with your on-premise servers. So boom, there that is.
Well, here's my question. What about, because if it's a CBCT, right, and large file downloads, the uptime, downtime, it's all based on what your internet connection is, right?
Right.
And your speeds. So really, you need a server to maintain those large file storage, correct?
John, you want to take my spot? Go ahead. Tell them how it works.
I mean, I'm fairly.
I love it. I love it. You're absolutely.
What is going on right now? Uptown,
John is
downtown.
on.
John's on.
John got his coffee this morning. I love it,
dude. I'm catching up. I'm catching up here.
Oh, by the way, look at this little cup here.
Oh, I like
what do we got?
My family opened up a gelato stand.
That's right.
I got the best dad ever. The best dad ever.
Hey, that's good. That's good. All right, so
John, back to your question. You're absolutely right, buddy. So there it is. There's another thing. You traditionally can't get off of a server if you have 3D, because you have to have some kind of imaging cache machine that's going to, because of those size of those files are so big.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. There's so many variables and going completely cloud.
So the reality is these cloud companies that are saying you can get rid of your server, that's bullshit.
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot, but I'm gonna have to say you're absolutely right. You really have to have an Active Directory. You have to have a domain. You have to have your security and group policies. You want to be able to have a tracking footprint. What does that look like? Well, you have to have an on-premise server in order to do those things.
Got it.
So jumping off the server and just going with a work group, that sounds really good, but I can't track what anybody is doing inside of my office, and that's the reality of it.
So go into that a little bit more, because that's interesting. We want this sort of information. So what you're saying is you can't track where they're going into the software?
Well, you can't track anything if you're not on a domain or you have security and group policy set up. You set up security and group policies for administrative access or user access, and you can give certain people access to other things and other people no access to certain things. So the reason I'm saying it's so important, we're talking about HIPAA compliancy, and part of your HIPAA, when you do training, that is the administrative side of what people have access to and what they don't have access to. Can they extract data? Can they not extract data? So truth be told, I mean, you want your security as tight as possible. And so that's a question we've had for a long time with a lot of different companies is, what does that look like? Like you're saying we don't need a server, but yet if we don't have a server, we're going to be on a work group atmosphere. What's the security risk behind that? You know, and those are questions people don't want to answer because, you know, and since this is uncensored, it's uncensored. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. They don't want to answer those questions because it's absolutely true. They need security policies. They need group policies. They have to have it. So do you need a piece of hardware? Yes, you need a piece of hardware. You're going to be paying for that piece of hardware regardless. Even if it's in the cloud, you're going to have a server sitting in your office. Right. So, yeah, that's the truth, John. And I'm glad you brought that to the point because I was going to go there next with you still have to have the equipment on premise.
Let's talk about some I think that's great because I always get the $5,000 or whatever, $6,000, $7,000 server versus no server, and that's going to save you money. But then, you know, the overtime cost of on the cloud, and it's always that debate with the startups. But to that point, it's all about trying to walk a startup into a project so they don't blow their budget because budgets are so tough these days with startups. We just came off of equipment. Equipment was Zolfo was talking about 2 ops. I was really surprised he said 2 ops because my go-to is 3 ops. But Matt was on here. He's talking about 2 ops, but he was talking about a lot more technology and versus the core equipment. But I don't want to get into that. I guess let's stay on networking and your side of it, Ian. What are some things that you see doctors making decisions on where they might be spending a bit more than they need to in that infancy stage? Like, of course, they all want to think about their practice as like that $10 million practice right out of the go. The truth is they're excited about, 8 patients their first week. You know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the key ingredients to the way we consult doctors is we want to know what their 3-year, 5-year plan is, because we're going to build the infrastructure of their network to fit their 3-year, 5-year plan, right? We don't want them coming back, 2 years later saying, hey, I told you we were getting a CBCT, and they're saying none of my operatory computers can work with the CBCT. We can't pull up the 3D images because the graphics cards aren't working, et cetera. So we have this conversation. This is part of our initial 5-minute intro. So you see this floor plan right here?
Yeah. Oh, snap.
We see these all day long. I got stacks of them. So we walk through, whether we start in the front office and we go all the way to the back. We talk about audio, video. We talk about security surveillance, wire infrastructure. We want them to know exactly what they're getting, exactly where it's positioned. So that's the key ingredient, is to getting exactly what their 5-year plan is. You're building out 3 ops, right? Well, here, look, we got 6 ops. So what does it look like? How long before you build out those additional ops? What does it look like? Are you going to be doing CBCT, or are you going to do 2D and upgrade later on? And these are our initial questions, because we want to build it where they're not going to revamp their office in 3 years. It makes us look bad. We're consultants. It's not their job to understand technology. It's our job to explain how technology works on their behalf.
So let me ask you a question on that front. I mean, you could build conduit into the building, the actual construction, so you can do future polls, et cetera. And you're probably challenging doctors more often than not, right? Because you're saying, hey, I know you're just thinking about this, but have you thought of this, right? So you're challenging.
Yeah.
But beyond that challenge brings cost to the project, because you're thinking about conduit, you're thinking about polls. One question that I've always had is this, and even when we were building out practices, the electrician said, hey, I can pull that Cat5 cable for you. I can pull these things for you. What do you think? And I'm taking you out of Legend. I'm putting you in, I'm the doctor, or I'm just a regular IT guy. What do you think about the electrician pulling the IT company's wires? And is there cost savings? According to them, there is, but I don't know if there is or not.
You know, we truly don't make, I mean, it's not our bread and butter, but from our perspective, we want to get in a job site and we don't want to be redoing people's work. We know exactly what we are doing.
Yeah.
And so therefore we 9 times out of 10, we typically do all the Cat 6 infrastructure cabling, HDMIs, you know, all the low voltage stuff, because when we get in there, we're on a timetable. We don't want to be cutting sheetrock out, rerunning drops and things of that nature. So we're doing 35 plus build outs all over the nation.
Right.
And every month. So we have different teams. We have a wire infrastructure team. They'll go out and do the pre-wire with the plug walk, right? So it's done. There's, you know, it might take us a day, fly out, do the wire infrastructure, fly back. It definitely is worth it. It's definitely worth it. That's your question.
I was kind of leading the witness there of sorts, because in some instances we had the actual wrong terminations for those wires. So then the IT company had to come back in and terminate correctly. It didn't actually save us money. It actually cost us money by listening to the electrician who said, do this, right?
John, you're absolutely right. But here's the catch-22 with that, because we already know what, you know, I've been down that rabbit hole so many times, and we walked in when the electrician comes in, and sometimes we'll walk in and there's wires dropped, but there's no terminations. They haven't put the keystones on it, and they haven't punched down on the patch panel. And to be completely honest with you, we go ahead and do it just to save the doctor from that headache. He's already going through so much.
Right.
You know, we're all about making it easy as possible. Okay. We know that these doctors are transitioning from an associate to a scary point in their life. It's scary, exciting. There's all this emotions built in. There's so many moving parts. Well, here, let us take the technology. Let us work with whatever vendor you're working with to give you as little to no headaches as possible on the technology side.
Yeah, because in those instances, Ian, it's more about, you know, the doctor doesn't know who to point fingers at. And really, if a patient comes in with a broken tooth, right, they're not looking for, hey, you ate too much candy, this, that, or they're making sure, hey, is this going to be able to be fixed? And am I going to be able to go to work? That's essentially what you're saying you guys do. Hey, we'll finish this for you. Don't worry about it. This person screwed up. Or maybe you don't even say this person screwed up. You guys just go to work and do it, which is what we want the doctors to feel. And you're right. They have a lot of stress. And that's what we're trying to eliminate here on this showgram, right?
Absolutely. The stress factor is huge. I've worked with hundreds. I'm privileged to have worked with hundreds. Oh, you know what? Let's go ahead.
Mimi, can I ask a question, guys? Hey, can I ask a question, guys?
Me and John we'll take over.
Yeah. Hey, that's cool. That's cool. Two things. Transition time. So I get a lot of budget. I see a lot of budgets from networking crews similar to you guys. Well, no one's similar to you, Ian. I know that, but you know, if I could categorize all of you guys into one spot, two places that I see a lot of money and a lot of questions coming my way as a startup consultant, and it's sound for music,
right,
and it's security, so cameras. So on one hand, I get the guy or gal that wants to do Sonos everywhere, and that's the top end, and you know they need that solution. And the other end is, I don't know, maybe they're still wiring in speakers from the ceiling. So address that, and then quickly transition to security, kind of similar, where you get like the high end security systems. But what are you doing all this security for? Like it tends to be really, really expensive stuff. I don't know. Can I get your feedback on that? Like, of course, you know, embezzling and stuff like that's important, but tell me more about both of those topics.
You know, those are luxury items, right? Like when you're doing a new startup and you got your budget, your set budget. You're working with your financial institutions. You're working with your equipment people. You're working. You know, is it better to go ahead and build out op number 4 versus putting in security and audio video. The truth of the matter is, guys, is it's not that much more to go ahead and add those features on while we're doing the wire infrastructure, while we're there. I'll get a lot of doctors that are very, very particular. Hey, I want Sonos. What does that look like for me? And they don't even think of logistics behind the scenes. Like, well, you got to have your electrician put plugs everywhere you're putting speakers, and you have to have this and that. So it's traditionally I'll tell them, simplicity is always best. Simplicity, so you don't have to worry about it. Wireless everything, definitely not the way to go, guys. Not just from a support perspective, but from an end user perspective, wireless everything it's just not the way to go.
Right.
And then let's jump over on that's on the audio. So really it's whatever you want. If you want Sonos, we have a team that does all the audio video. They can do whatever you want. Traditionally, you don't have to have a high-end Sonos system in order to get the same quality, same ease of use. As you know, with all audio stuff is all internet based. You got applications that you can use on your phones and or your computers to control your audio inside of your office. I mean, I could set up a VPN on my phone and control it from outside of the network if I wanted to on my phone. But security surveillance, for me, I think that's probably one of the biggest features. I would rather have security surveillance than audio, in my personal opinion. Security surveillance, obviously, we traditionally do all the same stuff. You have to keep in mind, we build out these offices every single day. We're not jumping into different technology hoops because we use the same technology. We use proven stuff that actually works. It's not the most expensive equipment, but it's definitely will fit their budget. It's what it is needed, and it's expandable. On the security surveillance side, this is not sexy stuff. It's what works best, what has the best resolution, what records in the cloud. We use pretty much Unify for all of our security surveillance. And over the course of the past 10 years, security surveillance, as you know, let's look back 10, 11 years ago when Facebook was just getting started. Look where it's at now. So that's how far technology has gone. Okay, so as the world changes, we're continuously updating our technology for our doctors to make sure that they're getting the best of the best. We're also looking for like warranties. We want them to have as 3-year warranties. If we can get the deal, let's get the deal. I would rather them have everything warranted. So when because truly things will happen and you'll go out, things will break 1 year, 2 years in. We want to warranty those products. There's a lot of moving parts. I think at the end of the day, getting with the right technology company that has obviously your best interest in mind, that's going to be the key ingredient. Whether that's Legend and or another company, you want to ask them what type of volume you're doing. Hey, do you have any references? Who can I call? At the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. Okay, who's doing it? Who's leading the market, right? And I have some really, really cool people that are in my same field, and I look up to them. They don't know it. I'm not going to throw their name out. I'm not plugging anybody today, but they're doing it, and they're doing it good. And you know what? It's very humbling for me because I want to do it better. So get the references. We take care of over 700 practices across the nation on a day-to-day basis. I would love to walk you around our facility, but we moved from this is how we've grown. We went from 3,000 square foot to 7,000 square foot, and now we just bought a 12,000 square foot warehouse where we're going to house and build out over 100 help desk technicians.
Is that it? Where you're at now, Ian? The club scene.
This is my private office. You see my BMW.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, but I could definitely.
I didn't know if you had like a separate area off the 12,000 foot for just the night scene.
I actually would love to actually do a little walkthrough in our knock. We just moved in here 3 weeks ago, but it's this is stuff that your audience wants to see. Is like, hey, is this just a guy and a couple other guys? Or does he have a team behind him? And you know what? I'm gonna do a small walkthrough.
Oh, snap!
And I knew you guys.
Actually, hey, Ian, pause, stop. Let's save that for the promo.
Okay.
Let's wrap this up.
Okay.
Thanks so much for being on, John. I know that you had a ton of questions, and thanks for having me on the show, guys. I really appreciate your help. And This was super fun. I'm humbled by this experience, you two, and have a phenomenal week, you two. Thank you, guys.
Hey, Mike, we're gonna have you back, buddy.
All right, guys. See you. Thanks. All right. Great. Take care.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another truth-filled episode of Startup Uncensored. Check out Startup Uncensored on Facebook and YouTube. Click like, subscribe, and interact with Michael and John.